We got a video with 16 million views called I got in a coma for years and I could hear everything. I feel like that's pretty bad. I feel like you don't want to be in that situation. So today we're going to get right in there and see, is it as weird as it sounds? Hopefully it is. Let's go.
Hi there, I'm
Hello.
Aria. Imagine yourself not being able to say, I'm hungry, I'm
Okay, let's just imagine that real quick. Okay, got it.
hurting.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Got
I
it.
love you. Imagine yourself being imprisoned inside
Yo, I can't do all this imagining. It's too early in the video for me to think this
a
much.
body.
Let's let it play.
A body which doesn't obey your
What is
orders at
this?
all. People are all around you, yet you feel alone. It wouldn't be easy, would it? Well, I
No.
lived for years feeling this way. Years of wishing for the ability to connect, to express, to share with others.
I feel that right now. I wish I could connect with people and express and share my emotions and have friends. What?
Maybe you're wondering about the reason? Well, it was that
No.
I fell off the tree. I was my mom and dad's only child. We were a middle-class family, and we lived in a small house with a stunning backyard, which
That
had
is
an
beautiful.
old oak
Look at
tree
that.
that was said to be even older than my grandparents.
Even older than my imagine your grandparents watching this. How insulting is that?
Yo, this tree is even older than Grandpa and Grandma. Did you hear that?
When my dad first bought the house, he found a tree house in the oak tree built by the
Oh, that's
kids who
cool.
lived in the house before us.
I love that.
After a lot of convincing, my father agreed to fix the tree house.
Yes.
He even
Let's
made
go,
a
Dad.
wooden ladder so I could climb into the tree easily.
My neighbor had a treehouse when I was a kid. Quick story. When I climbed up that treehouse, I know you don't
remember
care.
helping my
It
dad
was scary
decorate
because the
its
ladder
walls
was
with
super.
posters and
Never mind.
photos of my favorite band.
It's a boring story.
For a second, you might be thinking, what a sweet family. But no, this wasn't the case exactly. You see, my mom was a moody woman who yelled a lot, and nothing me or my dad did could please her.
Why do I relate so much to this story right now?
She would spend the whole night smoking cigarettes in front of the TV.
Okay, my mom
and
didn't
then
do that,
sleep
but-
the whole day. As for my dad, he spent his time working so he could pay the bills and buy us food. And me, well, after I got home from school, there was nothing for me to do but
Treehouse,
go
treehouse,
and
treehouse,
play with my
treehouse.
dolls in the treehouse.
Yes.
For my 13th birthday, my dad bought me the best gift ever. He bought me a little white puppy that
Look at those. Look at the lips on that thing. That thing's.
was super fluffy. I called him
That was a
Snowball.
mouth.
Perhaps this dog would keep me company so I
Maybe
wouldn't
it
feel
will.
alone. I loved Snowball, and I taught him
Aw,
lots
look at the
of
little
tricks.
doggy.
We used to spend all day together in the treehouse.
Aw,
We would
that's so
only go
happy.
home to eat dinner. That
That
way,
is
we
just-
steered clear of my mom's yelling and her long fights with my dad.
Wow, if I had a treehouse to avoid that growing up, guys, I'd be a much different person today. You know what
I
I'm saying?
watched the sky
What?
a lot during my days in the treehouse. Back then, my dad only came home after the sun had set, so I'd
Aw.
watch the stars lighting up the sky. They looked amazing.
This
I
is
knew
so
that
wholesome,
the
though.
stars were nothing but meteors traveling fast through the sky as they burned. But
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's actually. I don't think stars are meteors. I don't believe that's accurate.
everything my dad told me about them made them seem magical.
Okay.
One time, I was watching the sky with Snowball, waiting for my dad to return home. When he arrived, he climbed up and sat beside me.
Aw.
He said, "This falling star is a wish that just came true for someone out there in the world." A wish?
Oh,
I
falling
said.
star. I thought
He
she said
explained,
star.
A long, long time ago, there was a poor man praying to the gods every day. However, the gods were always busy, so they didn't answer him.
Dude, this is like a good story right now. Like, I'm actually pretty into this one.
One day,
What the
he
heck?
screamed so loudly the mountains shook. The gods looked at him and listened to his troubles. They became so sad and cried.
Why does this seem
burning
real?
Stars.
This seems like real.
So this way, whenever he saw a falling star in the sky, he'd make a wish and the gods would make them come true. But can this be possible? I asked.
I've never been so into one of these in my life. Like,
And he replied, "Legends are a beautiful thing to hear, but
Aw.
not to believe. If
Oh.
the legends are so old, how
Okay.
can we know if they are true or not?" I asked. He just smiled at me and said it was time to head back into the house.
yo, I hate when parents do that. Like, you're gonna do that and just because you don't know the answer and lie to me? Weak.
On that same night, while I was lying in bed hugging Snowball, it started to feel like my life was falling apart. My mom was screaming hysterically at my dad, telling him that the money he was bringing in was no longer enough,
Oh, can I relate to that? Can I relate to that?
and that he should start searching for an extra job. She
Do it.
said that she could no longer go out with her friends because she was so embarrassed. She couldn't afford to buy
Oh,
new
no.
dresses every time they went out like her friends did.
Oh,
I saw
no.
Snowball looking at me as if he wanted to say, "What a silly woman." The fighting and loud screaming continued for a long time until I could no longer bear it.
This
I
poor
snuck out of
girl.
the window and headed towards the dark oak tree in the
Uh-oh.
backyard. Everything around me was dark. Behind me walked Snowball.
Oh no, the dog's gonna eat her.
We crept very quietly so no one would hear us,
Dang
and
it.
then we arrived at the treehouse. It was pitch black, so I missed a step on the ladder, and then my leg
Oh,
slipped.
no.
The
Wait, she's
last
gonna just
thing I
fall. Never
remembered
mind.
from that day was that after I fell hard on the ground,
The dog
everything
ate you.
around me turned fuzzy. Snowball
Oh.
sounded far away, even though I
Scared
could
me.
see him
What the
jumping
heck?
around me. Then
I thought I was about to just take a nibble right there. That really freaked me out.
I wasn't able to feel anything.
Oh.
After a little while, I felt myself waking up. My head hurt and I couldn't feel any part of my body. I'd completely lost control over my body parts. Even my eyes, I couldn't open them. I could feel the light around me, but it was too difficult to open my eyes.
Ooh.
Oh my, what happened to me? Was I stuck in my sleep? Or was it worse than that? Had I died? I didn't know.
Oh, this is just, I don't like hearing that. It just doesn't, like, imagining this, like, I have thought about this before, this freaks me out. Like, this is a big fear of mine.
Much about death, except that after death, a person drowns in darkness. But this darkness I felt was different, completely different. I could feel my body freezing. Suddenly I heard someone. If I was able to hear him, that means I wasn't dead. Thank God. From his tone of voice, I gathered he was a doctor speaking to my parents. He said, the damage she suffered to her head due to the fall has resulted in severe internal bleeding in her brain, which is preventing enough oxygen from reaching her body, resulting in a coma. But I wasn't in a coma.
Oh, man.
I was there with
That's
them.
scary.
I heard.
Dang, this story this story is weird. I think we need to go back to ones with Siamese twins and people eating each
My
other or
dad
something.
crying and my mom inquiring about the treatment fees. I wanted to scream, to call out for them, to say something, anything. But I wasn't able to even talk at that time.
No,
Suddenly, I
this
was
music's
just
so
a
sad.
vegetable.
She just called herself a vegetable. That's kind of funny though.
Do anything but listen. Most people don't think twice before talking or connecting
Stop.
with
I'm gonna cry. Stop it. Stop it. I'm too connected to the story right now. This deserves 16 million views.
others. They do
Stop
it
it.
automatically. But I had absolutely no way of speaking to anyone. For the last 13 years, I had been a normal girl. A girl who loved her dad, her dog, and who loved to play. I was
Wow, if music does not make these, and then I interrupt it and ruin it.
happy and healthy. But now, suddenly, that had all changed. The doctors didn't know what to do. They thought I was completely in a coma, but they always treated me nicely. All the time I spent in the hospital,
You can
I
do
only
this.
heard my dad's voice.
You can
my
do
mom
this.
had completely vanished. I didn't know where she was, and I didn't hear anything related to her.
Come on, girl.
Until the day the doctor said there is nothing more they can do, and that it is best for me to return to my parents' home. I heard my mom arguing with my dad. She didn't want me back home. I was, according to her, a burden that she didn't want to carry.
Oh my
but I went home anyway.
gosh.
I was happy because I was returning home. I heard my dad
Wait, I'm just confused. Is she still in a coma?
telling my mom that he finished the treehouse because
Can you do that? Can you just take people in a coma?
that
they had
was
to,
the
like, stay
last
there.
thing I asked him to do. That's why he insisted on bringing me back home, so I could be near the things I loved. However, things went downhill from there.
Oh.
I lost my ability to move. I failed all the mind exams they conducted on me in the hospital, so the doctors told my parents they could treat me as if I didn't exist. My return home was just a hopeless attempt at keeping my unconscious body comfortable until I died. My dad tried his
Can we just take a minute to be grateful that we are not in this situation right now? Because wow, I did not expect to feel this right now. Oh my
hardest to
gosh.
keep me comfortable, and that really annoyed my mom. Their friends stopped visiting after a while, and the money Dad was providing was no longer enough. Machines that were keeping me alive were too expensive. Before, I was able to escape my
man,
mom's
this is so
screaming
sad.
and ranting, but today I was stuck with it without them even knowing that I could hear them. The whole thing felt like a nightmare. When my dad first got me Snowball, I thought that he was very smart and could just
Yeah?
understand me without even having to talk to him.
But then I realized he was gonna eat me.
But my dad used to laugh and say, dogs are about as smart as a 3-year-old. They can feel when you're happy, sad, or scared, but they can't read your mind. Deep down, though, I knew Snowball was no ordinary dog.
Aw,
He was
that's so
special
wholesome.
enough to be able to read my thoughts
Yes.
because we had this insane bond.
Yes.
Every time my parents started their screaming matches, I'd hear
Yo,
their Snowball sitting beside
that
me
is
and
so
barking
sweet.
at a
Oh
low
my
voice,
gosh,
as if
you
to tell
can't.
me that everything
You
would be
can't
all
make
right.
you can't
I
make
was
this
sure
up.
that
This is a true
Snowball
story.
knew
I'm
I was a
convinced.
prisoner in my body, unlike what everyone else believed. He never left my side.
Look at
His
him.
breathing was my only comfort. For a while, I used to be entertained by my father when he entered my room at night and started moving my body left and right to help my blood circulate. Once he was done, he'd sit beside me and talk with me for an hour or so about his day, like he
This is just a sad one, guys. I'm sorry. This is just
before,
emotional
but
right
that
now.
didn't last for long. The last talk he had with me was about how tired he was, both physically and mentally. That he was very upset he'd lost his little girl, the only person in the whole world who used to listen to him. That day, I heard him sobbing so loudly. Then he suddenly said, "I can no longer bear to look at you like this anymore." After that, he stopped talking to me altogether.
gosh.
A year
No.
quickly turned into 2, and I felt the person I used to be disappearing. Not just her body, but also her memories. My mom said that she'd had enough with my stuff taking up so much room, and that she could put the space to good use. My dad wasn't able to refuse, so he just said that he'd moved my things to the treehouse. It was
This is so sad.
wasn't long until I was
Oh, please wake up.
to another one that was more practical and way smaller. It had
Okay, that's
barely
good.
enough room for my bed, machines,
Oh.
and for one person to be able to move around in.
Well, that sucks.
That was enough for me, according to my mom. What was worse was that this little room was next to the living room. That meant that I could hear everything. I mean, literally down to the tiniest details.
Uh-oh.
2 years
Uh-oh.
turned to 3, and I
Uh-oh.
was still in the same place with no one aware
Like, what would you guys do in this situation? Like, I don't
of
know.
my existence. It was like I was a ghost. Whenever my mom's friends came to visit, they used to ignore me, as if I was just part of the furniture. I was dead to everyone, just not in the ground. Only Snowball remained at my side.
This just seems like very plausible, doesn't
My
it?
mom and her friends' conversations were ridiculous. They gossiped a lot and couldn't stop judging their relatives. Sometimes they talked about clothes, travel, and their husbands. I once heard my mom talking ill about my dad. She said he was the reason behind her unhappiness and that she had met some rich guy at a coffee shop.
Wow, if that ain't my mom, guys, if that ain't my mom, this whole show.
That guy had invited her for a drink, and she'd gone to meet him.
Wow.
And now she was seriously considering leaving me and my dad. For me, that was the worst part about those 3 years. Feeling totally powerless and not being able to stand in front of her.
Yeah, that's
and
terrible.
not being able to scream, "You're an ungrateful woman. All the things Dad did for you."
That's what you want to scream after being in a coma for 4 years and hearing that? That's it?
And
Okay.
yet it's never enough. Now you want to leave him because some other guy has more money? My poor dad didn't deserve my mom, or even me. I found myself in utter darkness, and the darkness was swallowing my dad up whole.
Wake
I
up.
couldn't remember much about my life
Just do it. You just gotta do it. You just gotta wake up. You just gotta say, this is enough. Boom, wake up. Done.
before the fall.
Boom.
I was so terrified I'd forget everything.
Wake up.
I remembered having a friend
Wake
called Maisie, but
Wake
I
up.
couldn't remember what we used to do or how we would spend time together.
Wow.
I remember loving science, but I no longer remembered any of the stuff that we'd learned at school. At the same time, my mind clung onto those memories, and at the same time, started creating new ones that hadn't existed before.
What?
I had to find a way to stay here, in this world, even if I had to create my own world inside my head.
Okay.
Maisie became my best friend. She always visited on Sundays.
Okay, cool. That's what. What to be? You just to be continue me that? I don't even know she wake up. Are you kidding me? You just to be continued me that video. Are you kidding me right now? 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 Okay then. Join me next Friday as we reveal part 2 and see if she wakes up. I cannot believe they just did that to me. I can't believe they just did that to me. Let's do it to them, Lucas. Cut it off in the middle of the